Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of All on Table. I'm Phatter Phil, and with me is Comic Hunters Jeff. Uh, of course, All on Table is brought to you by GameItAll.com, your one-stop shop for all your video game and entertainment needs. Currently, we have released our Games of the Year list for all video games, so if you want to go to GameItAll.com and check it out. And of course, we are sponsored by the Comic Hunter. Go to comichunter.net, and you can visit the website. The Comic Hunter has an extensive collection of comic books dating back to the Golden Age, and also they have great prices on Magic the Gathering singles. I'd highly recommend going in there, and you could get a pretty good deal on a lot of stuff, and maybe find some hard-to-find things that you've been looking for a while. And of course, they ship internationally.
I know within North America, yes. I think internationally as well. Within North America, it's $12 shipping. Outside of North America, then it's gonna be it would be determined at the time.
Yeah. So that's comichunter.net. So today, all on the table, we're going to be reviewing a trio of games that kind of have a Oriental influence, and most notably Japanese. The first game we're going to talk about is called Onitama. Onitama is a great little game that came out earlier this year. Definitely a candidate for the game of the year, for sure. It's essentially a variant of chess with very special rules. It's played on a 5x5 board, and it comes with a beautiful fold-out board there. Like you'll see, it's wondrous colors. Very colorful, very nice.
Essentially, it's a playmat.
It's a playmat. It rolls up. So it can double as a playmat for any of you who play card games out there. So it comes with little plastic pieces that represent your units, your master, which are the master senseis, and the pawns, which are your students, which are the students. And the premise of the game is two martial arts masters and their favorite students are meeting and comparing their different martial arts styles, and the winner will get to prove that their style is the best. The game's very easy. It is essentially chess. The one variant difference to it, however, is that the moves are not static. The moves are fluid. There's always a different type of move you can play. Beginning of the game, you get dealt 2 cards. Your opponent gets dealt 2 cards, and then there is a center card that gets dealt out, and all these cards have different moves that you can do on them. So, like, for example, they're all based on different animals.
Yeah,
so
the
that
lighting's
is
awful. There we go.
So
Hey.
that's the dragon style, and that one is the elephant style. And you'll notice on the cards, you'll see there's different colorations. The black square is where your unit would be, and all the units move the same. So the black square is where your unit would be, and any of the colored squares on the card is where your unit can go from that point. And of course, it's always where the card is facing you is always like the side of where your unit starts. Now, how you play is if you want to move a piece a certain way, you move, and then you take the center move that no one has, and you take it onto your side, and then you put the move you just used there. So next turn, your opponent can use one of his moves, and then he takes the move that you used previously and takes it on his side. And the cycle continues like that. There are ways to win the game. There are 2 of them. First one is you have to capture your opponent's sensei. The second one is if you can get your sensei into the opposing color pagoda, which is where the units start. So if your blue guy goes there, and your red guy goes there, and it has to be the sensei, it can't be the pawn, then you win. So if I put my red dude in his blue pagoda, we're done. I win. I've played the game several times. I've won both ways. It's very deep in strategy, and every game is different. Like, it really is because of the fluidity of the moves. Like, it's really...
It's deep in strategy, but it's not necessarily hard in strategy because of the fact total moves is 5 moves. 2 on your side, 2 on the other, and 1 that interchanges. And since there's multiple cards, basically the 5 moves can change each time. So you know when you're making your move, okay, my opponent has 1 of 2 moves to make. What can he do to once I'm done? And once you're used to that, you might start thinking a little bit further ahead and like, okay, well, he's going to get this card later on. What can he do with that? But like I said, it can be very strategic. However, it's not strategic to the point where it's unplayable. It is very much you learn it within 5 minutes, and you could be playing it several times, and you could still be like learning new strategies or trying out new things. And even though it's one of those things where, yes, it is kind of loosely based off of chess, but I mean, if you never played chess before, that's not a criteria at all for this. It is purely turn-based strategy, but it's I don't want to say simplified, but it is a little more streamlined. Because since there's only 5 moves total that you can make throughout the game, on any given turn, it does limit what you can choose to do, but again, it limits what you think they're going to do as well.
How could we calculate how many different possible games there could be in this? Like at different move sets, because there's 15 cards and you draw 5 every turn. I don't know what the formula would be. And you draw 5 during the game. If 15, how many different combinations of 5 can you get out of 15 cards, basically?
20 years ago, I could have told you when I was taking my stats class at UMB, but
needless to say,
yeah.
It's probably close to the hundreds.
And plus, again, even though you have played it several times or lots of times, and different people have different strategies. Some people like certain moves better than other moves. They're like, I love this move, and they'll hoard it and won't use it at all just because they don't want you to use it. So, but it's
I like any card that gives me the opportunity to move one space in a forward, essentially, or one space back, because I find that it allows me to backtrack. It allows me to do a counter move more easier, because in the game like Onitama, I found that planning my counter moves was better than planning my offensive moves. The only time I'd really start doing offensive moves is if I saw that if I was like really ahead.
And sometimes you can be pretty restricted in what you can do as well, because you're not allowed, since it's only a 5x5 grid, you're not allowed to move your piece onto a space that you're already occupying. Of course, you move it onto one of their occupied spaces that removes their piece.
Capture them. Yeah.
But you're not allowed to move off the board either. So some pieces or cards that have, like, you can move 2 spaces off. Well, if you're up against the side, you can't. Obviously, you only maybe have 1 or 2 moves on that card that you can do. So it's basically because of the replayability and the way different moves end up, combining to try different strategies. But yeah, it is recommended. And like I said, it's not one that you have to be an expert on any chess or anything like that. It's easy to learn, but it takes forever to master, and it is recommended.
No, absolutely.
And it's a 2-player game only. Just
2-player only, yeah, right now. For now, anyways. Maybe they'll release like an X-Pack where you get a bigger board and you could be the 4v4 or 1v4, 4-way or whatever. But for the most part, Onitama I found was very, very good. You guys couldn't keep it on the shelf for a long ass time. I know the initial run was like, I waited forever to get a copy of this fucking game.
Well, that was just because after the initial order, it just took forever for our supplier to get more. Yeah. And
probably because it sold so well.
Now we got the next batch. Basically, when we get them in, usually for board games, we order like 1, maybe 2 at a time. When we order that, we generally order like 4 or 5 at a time, just because it's A, as you can tell, it doesn't take a lot of space, and B, it's fairly affordable, and it does move steady enough that it warrants it.
Well, everyone I know who's played it liked it, and thought it was really good. I personally think it's just fantastic, just great game, easy, fast, deep strategy, tons of replayability. This game gets as close to a perfect 5 as it possibly can get. Onitama is excellent. It's very, very good. I do give it a 5 out of 5. I think it's just a fantastic game.
I haven't played it enough to really give it a 5. I would say definitely at least a 4. Maybe, probably a 4.5 just because I used to play chess a lot. So there's a little bit of, yeah, for me personally, I would say 4.5. But I would say even for those that aren't familiar with that, I think you'll still enjoy it.
I can see this being a game that chess tournament players bring with them to their tournaments and play in between rounds to entertain themselves. Like between rounds. Because sometimes, it's chess, man. Games can take hours. Depending, right?
That's why you play Blitz.
Well, yeah, if you want to play.
Blitz is 10 minutes total.
Yeah, I suppose, but, it's not... It's just a variant.
Sorry.
not
How dare I cloud the issue with facts? Okay.
It's not true chess.
It's not
Where's Hanabi? We'll grab Hanabi. That'll
Hanabi!
be the easiest. Following game is called Hanabi. There are 2 versions of it. You can get the card version, which is what we have, and it's considerably cheaper. Or you can get the game board version, which is tiles that you place.
Essentially dominoes is what they're shaped there.
Yeah, and it costs like way more, like at least double the price. Now, Hanabi is the game of creating fireworks. You are at some type of fireworks festival, and
you and the other firework creators have mixed up their stuff, so you have to work together to get the fireworks done correctly. You only have so many turns to get it done in.
Yeah, or else the festival will be ruined.
Yes, and the thing is, it's a co-op game, obviously, but it is unique in the fact that you're trying to help each other even though you yourself don't know what you have.
Mm-hmm. Basically, it's a game where you play with your hand facing out to your co-players. So, like...
Get a good hand here to show. Give a little bit of variety of colors in here. Because normally the cards are, the back of the cards are like this.
The back of the card,
but
in front of the cards. So you play with your hand out like that.
Right.
And basically, during your turn, each player, whoever's going next, has a chance to tell you something about your hand during their turn. So if I was playing here and I looked at that, and Jeff would know what he has, so you can tell them either what cards in his hand are of a certain color, or what cards in his hand are of a certain number.
And you can actually gesture to them. So, for example, you could like.
So I could look at it and I could be like, this card is yellow, or these 2 cards are 2s. So Jeff would know what is in his hand. Now, how you play the cards is during your turn, you have to choose to either give a hint or play your cards. Now,
or exchange a card.
Now, if I say these 2 are yellow, and there's a firework that's starting to be built, like basically you play a card, you play the 1 card of a specific color. Then the only way you can play on that is having a 2 card of that specific color, and a 3 and a 4th, and until you get to 5. Then when you get to 5, you score it, and you get points for it, essentially. I think once you score 5 different fireworks,
there's 4 colors. So
yeah, but you have to score 5.
Well, you get 4 on each color. So once you get each of the 4, well, there's blue, yellow. No, I guess there's 5. Yeah. Blue.
There are 3 ways to end the game.
Yeah.
The game ends immediately and is lost if the 3rd black fuse is added to the lid of the box. The game ends immediately and is a stunning victory if the firework makers manage to make 5 fireworks before the cards run out. Then you are awarded the maximum score of 25 points. Other than that, the game ends if a player takes the last card from the pile. Each player plays 1 more time, including the player who picked up the last card. The players cannot pick up cards during this last round. Once this last round is complete, the game ends and players add up their score. And that's it. That's as simple as the game gets.
When they're talking about the fuses, you basically are allowed 3 mistakes.
Yeah.
And what happens is, like Phil was saying, when you're playing a card, you are trying to play from 1 to 5, and you can have like your 5 stack of different colors. But what happens is
fuse token.
If I see a 1 yellow that we've already played, and Phil has told me I have I have 2 yellows. Okay, I'm going to take a chance and I'll put a yellow on top of the 1, hoping it's a 2.
The
If it
explosion.
is, great. If it isn't, that's a botch, and that counts against us. And plus, you only have it is sort of timed, as in the fact, every time you give a hint, the timer goes down 1. It gets closer to running out of time.
Yeah, there's these tokens, these clock tokens is what they're called, and there's 8 of them. So you can, if you want to give a player a hint, you discard one of the clock tokens and put it in the box. If you have,
if you discard a card and then redraw one,
you can put a token back.
You get a token back. Also, if you complete a firework, so if you put the 5th one, you get you get another token on automatically. So you gain time by succeeding. If you play a card correctly, the token it doesn't move.
If you play a card incorrectly, you lose a fuse token.
Yes.
So it's very, very crucial. You only do get 3 mistakes. Once you do make that 3rd mistake, the game's over. Done. No points. You lose. The one time we played, there's only one time we played Hanabi. Like, I've played it multiple times, but there's only one time we played Hanabi where we actually ended the game without the fuses. And we did pretty good. But I think we ended up with 15 or 16 points, which wasn't too bad. I mean, the top point is 25, which is a perfect game. I find it very good. It's kind of... It can get hard. You really do have to figure out what kind of hint players are giving you before you start playing the cards, which you can't give out too many hints. Like, someone's got to shit or get off the pot at some point, because you're going to run out of clock tokens, and that's going to be the end of the game. The clock tokens represent that the festival is over, right? Whereas the explosion token represents that you fucked up and it blew up in your face. I find it really fun, really quick to learn, effective party game. It's a co-op game that I don't mind, because most co-op games, the problem I have with them is a lot of the strategic co-op games, it always ends up being the person at the table who's the best strategist that ends up directing traffic, as it were. He ends up telling everyone what to do. Like, he's like, oh, move your dude here, and you do that, and then you get to do this, and you get to do this. Especially Castle Panic. I found Castle Panic, like, it's always the best strategist that ends up taking over the entire friggin' game. But Hanabi is good that in a way, because you don't get to do that. You only have 2 things that you're allowed to tell other players. You're allowed to tell them these colors or these numbers.
And you are, in case for those that are like wondering, oh shit, I can't remember this, or remember which ones are with us, you are allowed, it does specify in the rules that you are allowed to reiterate, okay, this is what's been told, all right. These ones were yellow, and these one, and you can actually move the cards around so that if someone says, oh, okay, I have, oh jeez, of course I don't have ones of the same color. So in a situation here where there's 2 red, you can actually say, oh, okay, well, I know these 2 are red. I don't know what numbers they are, but I'm going to keep them separate, so that way I know these are red. So if someone wants to say, oh, I have 2 ones here and here, then it's like, okay, well, I know this is a 1 red.
I'm pretty sure the rules for playing cards as well is that whatever you're playing, you play them all at the same time, so you don't have to go like 1, then 2. If you play the 2 first, as long as you're playing the 1 as well, it doesn't matter. You can just put them in the right order.
Yeah, because for the tiles one, no, you play 1 tile. You don't play multiple at the same time.
Yeah, no. See, in the card game, you play multiples of the card. Like, you can, it's, yeah. So, it's really good.
It is a combination strategy, because you have to figure out, what should I tell this person, or should I even give a hint, or should I try something on my own? And deduction, because you have to figure out, all right, this is what's been told to me, this is what I've been told, so I'll try, this card might be this then. Because sometimes, like Phil was saying, when the timer gets low, you don't really have a choice but to take a chance. And if it succeeds, then fantastic. If it doesn't, well, you're allowed 3 botches, and then that's it.
Overall, it's a really simplistic enough game. Strategic-wise, I mean, it's got okay strategy to it. Honestly, I find it's very much luck-based more than anything else.
It depends on the group you're working with too. It's 2 to 5 players, so it is a good decent group game. It's obviously not a party game, but for a regular gaming group, it's worth. I think it's worth it, especially if it's a group that's played together for a while, because usually I find they're the ones that would be like, okay, they kind of work well with each other and sort of sit and try and it's easy for me to say.
I get your point. I give it a 3.5.
I give it a 4. Yeah. Mind you, again, I like deduction games, and I like the strategy part of it. And it is very unique in the fact that you don't know what you have, so it is a different mechanic than what people usually see, and I definitely recommend it. I mean, the card version is, if I remember correctly, is like maybe 20, 25 bucks.
No, man, it was like 15.
Really?
Yeah, it was dirt cheap. That's why we got it.
But no, yeah, and the gameplay itself is only, I think it was only it's like half an hour. Yeah, half an hour
at the most.
It's basically when you get, and it can take longer because sometimes you're just kind of thinking there's even though you have so many turns, there is no physical time limit. There's no timer for you to decide what you're going to say.
Well, you can adjust the clock too during the game. You know what I mean? Eventually you're going to run out of cards that you can't affect the clock with anymore, but you get to choose the pace. Right. But yeah, 3.5. I thought it was okay. Maybe I'd need to play it a few more times to like it, but I'm just okay with it. I can see it's good. I know it's good. I know it plays well, and it's simple, and it's quick, and it's cheap. But there's other games I'd rather play.
I feel it depends on the group. With the right group, it doesn't have to be the perfect group, but as long as it's a group that's willing to play it and like it, you'll get more enjoyment if you get your group and there's 1 or 2 people that isn't a fan of strategy or deduction games, and it's going to hamper the overall gameplay. So depending on who you're playing with, it can be very enjoyable or just an experience.
Mm-hmm. So that was Hanabi. The final game we're going to talk about is a great game. It's called Tsuro. This particular version that we're reviewing today is Tsuro of the Seas, which is like an expansion, which adds a few more rules, but you can play the basic game of Tsuro with the Tsuro of the Sea rules. Tsuro, if you remember the game Snake or Dragon on your PC, where you try to find the right path without running into yourself, it's kind of reminiscent of that. Tsuro has a grid as well. It's a little fold-out grid board, and you see this beautiful Hydra. I'm guessing it's a Hydra. It's a multi-legged
kind of like a Hydra dragon
thing. There's these tiles. You place these little tiles. What you are is in the regular version of Tsuro, you're a dragon. In this version, Tsuro of the Sea, you have a boat, a little boat. Toot, toot. And what happens is you place the tiles on the board. You shuffle the tiles, you get a random assortment, and you place them on the board. The object of the game is to make sure that your dragon doesn't run into another dragon or flies off the map. And I don't think you can do an infinite loop either. If you do an infinite loop, you lose as well. I'm pretty sure.
You can't do an infinite loop because eventually you have to.
I'm sure
it has to end somewhere.
Yeah, it has to end somewhere. Right.
There's no way to get caught in an infinite loop, but it's kind of hard to illustrate without. I'll have to do it with a little bit of a small
half a board
portion.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. So you place the tile on one of the squares like so.
And when you're starting at you're starting at the edge.
Yeah, you start at the edge. So I would be starting here. And then if I put the tile down, then my boat goes along whatever line I choose to follow. So if I choose to follow this line, the boat will go along that line right here. And it'll stop here. And that's the end of my turn. Then my opponent does it on another start. He puts his tile. He makes his boat go up along the line until the end. And then eventually you place tiles and build a road for your dude. So let's say I was playing my tile here, this one here, and I had placed my my dude on this right here. So then I would play my tile, probably there would be fine.
Nope. You go off the board.
If I played this, I would die, because then my dude would follow the trail off the board right over here.
Rotate it. That
But
way.
if I rotate it this way, ta-da, then my dude just follows the path, this path here, and continues onward. And like I said, that's it. That's all the game is. If your dragon runs into another dragon or runs off the board, like I showed you earlier, you lose. And that's the point.
And you can only play a tile that's like on your path.
On your
so
path,
you
yeah.
cannot put your tile in front of someone else's. The exception being, because early in the game it goes pretty quick because everyone's on the edge and there isn't a lot of tiles. Once you get about 2/3 of the way through, that's when you put a tile down and it's going to start running into other paths that already existed from the tiles that other players have put down. And then you just follow the path where it goes. And then if it stops on the edge, you're done. But if it stops at an open space, then you're still fine. And you can, if you place a tile for you and it also puts it in front of someone else, they move as well.
Yeah.
And you could actually force them to go off the board even though it's not their turn. It is, like, the basic game is very enjoyable. I believe it's 2 to 8 players, so it is a good party game.
Yeah.
It is easy to play, and it gets more interesting. Like, I find the second half of the game is much more entertaining than the first half, because the first half is just you're putting your stuff down, you're just trying to stay in the center, and then when you start merging it with the other tiles is when things start happening, and then it just becomes very enjoyable. And whether or not at that point, it can be just as much luck as anything else. But at that point,
Well, what tiles you get is luck. Like, it's randomly assorted. The tiles are dealt.
Yeah,
So-
I think you're given 3. You basically have 3. You
I
choose one.
I think it matters on number of players, actually.
Okay.
Because I seem to recall getting like 4 or 5. But I think the default might be 3. Anyways, yeah, you get so many tiles and you place them. The game is a lot of fun. Like, it's super fun. I played it years ago, like when it first came out. I played the regular version. I haven't played of the Sea yet, so I don't know what the actual expansion does, but it's the only copy we could get. But the basic game is playable with any of the expansions, I'm fairly certain. I mean, it's just tile placement. It's just tile placement and simple.
Well, it's a standalone. Like, this is a standalone, but you would need, if you have regular Tsuro, you would still need to get Tsuro of the Seas in order to play the Tsuro of the Seas.
Yeah, obviously.
But yeah, if you have Tsuro of the Seas, you don't need to have regular Tsuro. Because you can just play the regular game. And oddly enough, at the store we have regular Tsuro, but we don't have Tsuro of the Seas. But
whatever.
Yeah, it is fun. It is, I think, ages 8 and up, so it's definitely
I could see kids playing the shit out of this.
No, it is very fun, and like I said, I mean, it starts off strategy, but when you start hitting other people's tiles, that's where the luck factor comes in, and you could have the best strat. You could be like, I have perfect tiles, but once you start hitting the other tiles that other people place down, you're kind of hoping for the best. But I think myself, I probably give it a 4.5. I mean, it's definitely for what it is. It's not, like I said, it's not a deeply strategic game, but it is a very fun game, and it can be played with almost anyone. And once you understand the mechanics,
I find that once you know how it works, you could probably figure out like a deeper strategy to it. I'm sure there's certain tiles that are way better to play than others.
Well, it also depends on when you get closer to the other tiles. And because you have like 3 tiles to choose from, or 4 tiles, you could say, okay, you can kind of look and sort of say, okay, where was this one going to take me, or where is this one going to take me? And because you can sort of determine, all right, where I'm going to go if I end up hitting other tiles. And sometimes you just have no choice, and there's been more than one time where it's a case of I have to play this tile because basically no matter what I play or how I play it, I'm going to end up off the board. And it's sometimes you just have to, all it is, you're hanging on to the last one. It's the last one eliminated.
I've been eliminated that way before in a game I played of it. It was like, I was screwed. No matter which tile I played, no matter how I played it, I was dead. But I decided to play the tile that would take someone else with me.
Yeah, screw up someone else's
I'll be
path.
damned if I'm going down by myself.
So what do you grade it?
Oh, I second your grade, 4.5. for sure. It's great. It's good. Solid little game. It reminded me, like I said, a lot of that Snake game I used to play on the PC, where you can't touch your own tail, but every time you eat a block, it grows you. You must remember that.
Yep.
Must remember that. It was like an MS-DOS game. Played on DOS computers for the most part. Although they did come out with it in different other versions, with other systems, I suppose. But yeah, it was Tsuro was a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Definitely a buy, and I think it's like $40. 40.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it's of the 3 games, it's the strategy value is the lowest, but I find the playability, like the learning it and playing it, especially with a group of people, it adds to it much more.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a little something to entertain yourself. Just something that everyone will have fun with, and you curse someone out for condemning you to a painful death, to making you lose, or things like that. Yeah, I highly recommend Tsuro. Just if you find it, if you see it, if you're curious, pick it up. It's good. It's really good. So that's all we got today. It's a short episode. However, we're going to have a lot of episodes coming up in the next few weeks. We'll be reviewing some new RPG books that came out recently. We'll be probably doing a little rundown on Star Wars Destiny, maybe. Everybody's playing it, so I'm playing it. And
Once we finally get more starter packs.
Well,
Yay, North America! Getting only half of what we ordered.
hey, man, Amazon.com's got tons.
You shut your mouth.
Yeah, but, we'd have to pay the U.S. exchange rate plus the
Shipping.
Shipping plus the border fee.
It depends. It depends on how they ship it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the downside is basically what happened is the shipment that came into North America, half of it got damaged, so everyone got only half of what they ordered. Oddly enough, the shipment with the boosters came through fine. So boosters we can get no problem, which are fine. It's just when you don't have a starter deck to go on to, you are going to have to get a lot of boosters in order to build a deck from scratch. But,
it took me
probably half a booster box. That's what, 18 boosters?
24-ish.
Yeah.
24 boosters. That's about 2/3 of it.
Yeah.
There's 36 boosters in a box. So about 2/3 of a booster box, I was able to build a deck. I actually have more than that now. It's just the first time I bought 12, and then I got 12 again another time. And that I was able to make a deck. Not a very good deck, mind you, but a deck. And then now I have an actual good deck that I was able to build when I bought maybe another... I think I must have bought another half a dozen maybe. So yeah, if you buy a booster box, luck out, and you luck out, you might be able to get something. But anyways, when we talk about Star Wars Destiny, we'll talk about Star Wars Destiny. So yeah, we'll do that. And of course, we're having our upcoming, still almost in the execution stages of our DMs roundtable, where we're going to talk about world building. So until next time, I'm Phatter Phil, and this is Comic Hunters Jeff. And this was All on a Table, which was brought to you by GameItAll.com. Your one-stop shop for all your gaming and video gaming needs, all your entertainment needs as well. And of course, we are officially sponsored by ComicHunter.net, the Comic Hunter Moncton and Charlottetown. They have a great selection of comic book issues dating back to the Golden Age and some Magic singles. Just go to the website, ComicHunter.net, and you'll find a great deal.
And Thursday nights is board game nights from 6:30 on, where we have an upstairs area that's open for playing. And it's basically you show up. We have board games there, but people bring their own, and that night is designated for board games. Mm-hmm. And whether you can come by yourself, there's going to be people there. Bring your friends. We've had people bring in 5 games with them, just so because they don't know what everyone wants to play. Mm-hmm. But no, it's every Thursday night at generally people start showing up at 6 and start splitting into groups on tables at 6:30.
Actually every night Comic Hunter's something different, really.
Yes.
The entire place is always jumping. Always something to do late at night after 6:30. And it's very kid friendly.
It's just as we were talking about board games, I thought that would be a nice segue to kind of push that.
Of course.
Marketing.
Yeah. So once again, I'm Phatter Phil, and this is Comic Hunter Jeff, and we'll see you next week.